And here is the Writer's Almanac for Monday, the 19th of October, 2020. It's the anniversary of the surrender that ended the American Revolutionary War, Yorktown, Virginia, 1781. George Washington was up at West Point, New York, north of New York City that summer. The British were expecting him to attack New York City, which he'd been planning to do, but when he learned that the British forces were building a naval base down in Virginia on the Yorktown Peninsula, he decided to march his army all the way from New York to Virginia and trap Lord Cornwallis and capture his army. It was a bold move. They had to move 400 miles on foot, headed for New York City to scare the British, get them to prepare for an attack, and then quickly moved south, marching every day from 2 in the morning until it was too hot to continue. Lord Cornwallis learned that Washington was coming, but he chose not to escape. He thought his troops would be evacuated by the British Navy, didn't realize that the British ships had already been routed by a French fleet from the south. So he simply sat there and watched as Washington's troops surrounded the city and began a siege. They bombarded him for several days, then got word that Cornwallis would surrender. England did not have enough money to raise another army, and they appealed for peace, and 2 years later, the Treaty of Paris was signed, and the war was officially over. It's the birthday of the novelist David Cornwell, who writes under the name John le Carré, born in Poole, England, 1931, author of best-selling spy novels The Spy Who Came In From the Cold and Tinker Tailor's Soldier Spy. David Cornwell, who served in British intelligence and wrote about spies not as sexy, daring men like James Bond, but tired, lonely men who barely trusted their own government more than they trusted their enemies. His father was a con man. He worked fraudulent real estate deals, had millions of dollars in gambling debts, was in and out of prison on fraud. So Cornwell was raised mostly by his father's various girlfriends. David Cornwell, John le Carré, said, "I think that my great villains have always had something of my father in them." And it's the birthday of Tracy Chevalier, born in Washington, D.C., 1962. After college, moved to London, fell in love with a British man, and she lives there still. Author of the huge bestseller Girl with a Pearl Earring in 1999. And it was on this day in 1873 the first set of football rules were drafted by Yale, Rutgers, and Princeton. The rules more like soccer than what we think of as football, including the rule that no one could throw or carry the ball. The rules did not last long. Here's a poem for today by Sue Ellen Thompson, 11 Park Vista. We rented a room from an English violinist and shared the kitchen that filled the second floor. We had until the lessons downstairs were finished to cook and eat our dinner before he started his. Married now and beginning to show, I took the train to London every day and joined the crowd perched on folding camp stools at the Tate. Returning one evening, I saw my husband wreathed in steam above the kitchen stove, while a young girl raised her violin and released a flock of sparrows in the parlor below. I paused on the front walk, breathless with greed, food, music, children, all within reach. A poem by Sue Ellen Thompson, 11 Park Vista, from her collection The Golden Hour, published by Autumn House Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
Pre-order your copy of Garrison Keillor's long-awaited witty and insightful memoir, That Time of Year, A Minnesota Life, at GarrisonKeillor.com.